It was a quiet morning in London when Mrs. Blanchard, a local baker, rushed into Sherlock Holmes's office. She was in a panic. "Mr. Holmes, my muffin has gone missing!" Mrs. Blanchard holding an empty plate. Holmes and Watson looked puzzled. "A muffin?" Holmes, ever the detective, didn't miss a beat. "Tell me, Mrs. Blanchard, was it a blueberry muffin?" Mrs. Blanchard nodding quickly. "Yes, how did you know?" Sherlock Holmes smiling. "Elementary, my dear Watson. The faint smell of blueberries lingers in the air. And now, let's solve this muffin mystery." The trio at Mrs. Blanchard's bakery, Holmes crouching near a trail of crumbs on the floor. Holmes, in his usual style, began inspecting the scene. Crumbs, frosting stains, and, wait for it, an unusual trail leading out the back door. Sherlock Holmes raising an eyebrow. "This is no ordinary theft. Someone was very careful with their exit. But where did they go?" Sherlock follows the crumbs, which lead to a man covered in flour, holding a potato in his hand. Holmes followed the trail, and what did he find? Not a muffin thief, but a man covered in flour, clutching a baked potato instead of a muffin. Dr. Watson laughing. "Flour? Holmes, you think he took the muffin?" Sherlock Holmes confidently. "No, Watson, but this man is part of the puzzle. He's not the thief, but he's been pretending to be a baker, stealing muffins to cover up his tracks." Holmes confronts Mrs. Blanchard, who looks guilty. Holmes didn't waste time. He turned to Mrs. Blanchard. "I know what happened. You've been hiding the muffins, creating a false sense of urgency to boost your sales. But it wasn't the thief that caused the trouble. It was your greed." Mrs. Blanchard, guilty. "You're right, Mr. Holmes. It was all a scheme to get customers to buy more. But how did you figure it out?" Sherlock Holmes smiling. "Elementary, my dear lady. The greatest mysteries often aren't about what's stolen. They're about who wants attention." Holmes and Watson walking away from the bakery laughing. And with that, Holmes solved the case of the missing muffin, proving once again, sometimes the sweetest crimes are the most simple.